Well, thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be coloring Choco-Cherry Cat. And I'm going to be using Schpirerr Farben color pencils. I haven't used these in a while, but they have a beautiful color palette. Obviously, we have a lot of cherries, so I'm going to be using some of these reds. Probably go with the darker in the base. And then for the chocolate, again, love their brown selection. And for the cat, most likely I'm going to make them gray, maybe a dark gray or a light gray. I don't know yet. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But before we get started, let me show you my work area when I'm doing these color alongs. What I have above is a wide bracket. It gives me all the good wide shots. And then I have all my pencils laid out so I can grab them quickly, all by numerical order. And I have my blenders right there. And over here, I have a great swivel light. This is fantastic because it lets me cast shadows away from where I'm working. This one here just kind of bounces the light off the wall. And then here is an overall light that just kind of brightens up the area. This little bad boy, I like this a lot. This is something I made so I can get the closer shots and still give room for my pencil. And then this one is for some angles. And then finally over here, I have my really close-up shots. The only issue with this is when my pencil gets in the way of this little thing right here, and it's a pain in the butt. But that's how I get all my shots, and I wanted to share that with you. Let us begin, shall we? Now, I'm going top right to bottom left normally, especially if I'm messing with red. I usually do red last just because it's so messy, and I'm sure y'all know what I'm talking about. It just seems to be the one color that gets on the bottom of your hand and smears into everything. So in this case, like I said, I'm going to be working that works well with just being left-handed, so I'm not so much worried about it. I'm going to be skipping around. I don't believe I should make any of you watch me do every one of these cherries. It would be so redundant and boring. And yes, we do learn through redundancy, but I'm going to spare you, and I am going to edit this down. I don't want this color along to be a long video, and if it's still too long for you, you feel free to scrub right ahead. However, you will miss all my amazing commentary. And to be clear, I sat down with this picture not exactly knowing what I'm doing. I'm going to be winging it, especially see that cherry at the bottom where the chocolate is. No idea what I'm going to do that. I'm confident it's going to come out decent, but at the same time, if I screw this up, I'm still going to post it because, again, we learn from our mistakes. But all in all, I'm just kind of doing these cherries the same way I would a sphere. I might try to give them a little bit of texture, but even that, I'm going to be winging it. So hopefully we'll both learn a little something on this one. And if you're wondering, this picture is from my book, Deserted Cats. And I'm going to be giving this to you. If you already have that book, amazing. Just color along with me. If not, I'm going to post it, the freebie of this page, on my Ko-Fi page. And if you don't know what Ko-Fi is, it's like a donation page. Clearly, you do not have to donate. I just want you to go there and grab it. If you want to, click the I buy you a coffee button, or if you want to give me $1, amazing. If not, no pressure. I know everybody doesn't have access to Facebook, and they voiced it, saying that it's a little troublesome for them. So this way, everybody gets my freebie, and I get rich. And as you can see, as monotonous as this is, all I'm doing here is I'm working in my base red. This is actually a magenta, which is odd because this isn't really the color I think of. This is probably the most red color in this palette, and it's called magenta. But I'm playing around with that, and then I'm jumping into like a pink, like a lighter red, and then I'm going to jump over to a deeper, darker red. And again, I know some people like when I name the exact colors in case they just happen to be using this set, but I feel it's going to throw so many more off, more people off. So just look at your swatch sheet. You better have a swatch sheet. Look at your swatch sheet and just grab the color you like the most that you see, whatever object in this case, it's the cherry. So what color do you see that cherry being? And then get a darker version of that color and a lighter version of that color. And that is all I'm doing here. And I'm kind of playing around with it right here. Not in full confidence either. That's why you're seeing me go back and forth so much. I'm working each layer a little bit at a time because I'm kind of letting these colors guide where I'm adding my lights and darks. And a little side note, you can see how I'm pushing this pencil around. It's clearly no particular direction. This, I think, spawns from way back in the day. I had an art teacher when we were using color pencils. She was telling me that, the proper way to do it is in little circles. And I remember I just wasn't comfortable that way. And ironically, since then, in multiple coloring groups that I've been in, I've seen comments where people talk about the proper way, to not show lines is, not show pencil strokes is by approaching it in small circles. Well, this is clearly not always the case. It's, don't ever kind of paint yourself into that corner. Do whatever makes it work for you, and then also do what you're most comfortable in doing. I know going into this, I know ahead of time, you're not really going to see those pencil strokes. I'm not worried about the direction I'm using because the next color is going to go over it probably at a different direction, and then the color after that at a different direction. And then when it's all said and done, whether I'm blending it or whether I'm going back on top of it with the base color, for 98% of the color, those lines are gonna just kind of fade away and kind of melt into the rest of the picture. So don't ever feel like you have to approach this a certain way. Just do it, the way it works best for you, and just kind of master that where you're happy with it and comfortable with it. I'm using this base red again. At this point, this might as well be the blender. I've layered it so much with the dark and the light that this one's just kind of making them all melt together. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still going to use a blender because, blenders. This area right here, you can see these little highlights. Now, depending on the kind of blender I go with is going to depend on how those highlighters are going to look. So down here, we have a really soft one all the way to the aggressive. Now, I'm going to probably go in the area right here because I don't want to completely blow it out. So I'm going to use a mid-range. This is going to push those reds in close, but it's also going to leave enough white showing through. I've really started liking Thorntons because of that exact reason. It's at the edge of your mid-range. It's almost enough that it's aggressive, but not quite. The reason I'm using this one is it's going to get rid of a lot of those lines. It's also going to really push in these red. Like, it's going to make the dark red and the light red start melting together, but it's still going to keep the little areas where you could see I intentionally made certain areas dark and light. But these little white areas, see how they're turning into a pink? If I were to use a soft blender, I could go over this whole thing and it probably wouldn't give me the effect I wanted. It would keep it completely highlighted, though, so it's almost white. I want it to retain the light, but I don't want it to be white. So this is going to be perfect for that. It's allowing the white to still come through, to turn it into a soft pink without blowing it out. For example, if I were to use a Kalour, one of the more aggressive blenders, and I just went over this area, I'm going to not only lose the white, I'm going to probably lose a lot of the light pink too, where you're not even going to really see the highlight. So, it's just one of those fun things that I really enjoy when it comes to blenders because every tool has its purpose. Now, right here in this area, I'm actually going to jump up one more to a brown. I want a lot darker. Now that I've blended it, it kind of lightened up some of my dark areas. So I'm going to go into it just straight out with a dark brown. And not only is the brown going to become what looks like a dark red, it's going to pop this shape out so much more that comparing the before and the after, like before the darks to after the darks, is going to be night and day difference. Cue music for the darkening. Okay, stop music. This is what I was talking about. Look closely. Before, after. Before, after. Like I said, total night and day difference. Don't ever be afraid to go back into it with one more layer of darks. It'll really pop out your lighter areas and your base colors just by going back into it one more time. Now, I'm doing the rest of the cherries the exact same way I did the first, so I'm going to jump through this part real quick. This means cue cherry music. I gotta be honest, these cherries are thumping. And I'm sorry for this jarring angle right here, but it was the only way to get the entire image in there was to turn the paper sideways, or the camera sideways. But I figured you can get a better view this way. Cue Blender music. And for those of you who are waiting for the music to start, a true colorologist knows a blender makes its own music. And once again, there's really zero reason for me to make y'all watch all of this. This is another case of rinse and repeat, where I'm just going to blend these other cherries the exact same way I blended the first one. And now here, same exact thing. I'm adding the darks on top of the red with that brown. You could achieve this when you're messing with red and you want to go real dark past a brick red phase. You could go to any kind of like a dark umber or like a burnt brown, and you're going to get that amazing dark red look. Speaking of amazing, let me tell you how amazing I am. So apparently I hit the button to record, and it must have been recording because I basically turned it off. That's why the entire little chocolate piece of candy here is already up to this stage, because I just happened to look into the camera and realize it wasn't recording. But don't worry, you missed nothing. All I did is got a base brown and I scribbled over the entire thing. And to be honest, the reason I'm doing this, if we're going to be completely transparent, is because I'm building confidence. A lot of times you'll see me start with the base color. And there are reasons sometimes to do it that way. But a lot of times in my case, I start with that color simply because I'm just trying to get the feel for it. I'm trying to get the feel for the way the color lays down, as well as the look that I'm going for. Like I rarely ever use black, and I'm using it here because the outer edge of the chocolate where it's broke open is dark brown. And I made the inside dark brown, so I knew that wasn't going to work together. So what I did is I laid down that really dark brown, then on top of it I covered it in black, and then went back on top of it and did brown again. So basically I sandwiched the black in between two layers of dark brown, and that way it'll still look natural. It'll still look like it's the inside. It's just going to look like a really dark inside. So everything I've done up to this point, it's all about building my confidence. I wasn't sure where exactly I wanted the highlights to be. I wasn't sure where exactly I wanted the really deep spots to go, or where I wanted the brown to change to a lighter brown. So that was it. Now that I played around with it and was really light-handed, putting these browns across the entire thing, I'm starting to see those spots. And now I'm making the areas I want dark even darker. And then, I'm really pushing the highlights. And I'm slowly building up that chocolate, that soft chocolate texture. And it's going to start coming together. So again, the more I'm just being real light-handed with this whole thing. That's all I'm doing is I'm just building my confidence to start seeing the shapes and start seeing the texture and the depth. And then once I start seeing it, I really start pushing it. Having said that, cue chocolate music. Okay, stop chocolate music. Now, look right here. I'm going to add some darks, like the real deep darks. And look what it's doing. It's going to kind of start making the chocolate look like it's more textured, making it look more natural. So now you could see where those highlights are being popped out, not because I'm making them lighter, but because I'm making everything around them a little bit darker. And see how, you can see those natural folds in it. And I think doing stuff like that and taking those chances is where you're really making your picture become interesting. And here we go. So this is the part that I was kind of dreading. I'm not dreading, but like worst case, I just mess it up and I ruin the entire drawing. But I wasn't really sure how to do the cherry juice, the glazed cherry, and in my head I had it where it was this almost this dark red syrup kind of spilling out of this chocolate piece. And I looked it up online and I wasn't really getting what I wanted. So I'm like, did I just make that up? And surely I was just looking at the wrong things. But I was just picturing, like I said, this almost like this overload of this cherry syrup that would come out if you broke the side off. So my point being is I didn't really find what I wanted, so I didn't have a point of reference. So this is literally just me coloring spots here and there. I'm winging it. I'm hoping it kind of comes together. And that's, again, why you're seeing me go real light. I'm doing that to build my confidence until I start finding little areas of rest that I could go into and start putting in my lights, putting in my real darks. And hopefully this thing will start to have that shiny glaze look real soon. It's kind of funny because I added the music earlier, and now I feel like not adding it makes it just really like too quiet, almost like I forgot to put sound on it. So if anybody has made it this far and it's not scrubbed over this part of it, do I add music to these things or leave it off? I know asking that is going to be a mix, most likely a mixed response, because I know some people might want to listen to their own music while they watch this, but other people might think that the music helps carry the color along. So Let me know. I'm really, really curious. That's one of the things I would like you to comment. I just never know about, um, you know, talking too much filler, too much music, too little talking. So that if I had one ask, it would be that. As far as these color alongs go, what is it you like from mine as far as the audio goes? Right here, I feel like I know I'm taking parts of this clip out to speed it up, but I feel like I could have taken more. This is a very monotonous part. And I think the biggest part of this challenge for me was I was completely just shooting in the dark on this. I had no idea where I was going to put the little white glare lines. I don't know where I'm putting the dark red or the base red color. This is a I don't know if the struggle is the right word, if it's too strong, but this is a bit of a struggle just because I don't really have a point of reference. It's not like I go around drawing these types of liquids often or coloring these liquids. So this, if it's something you find yourself struggling with as well, I'm right there with you. So I'd be curious to see if somebody else takes a different approach doing this cherry juice. I would love to see what it looks like because I have zero doubt that there are way better ways to do it than what I'm doing. And I like to learn as well. I'm always looking up references, always looking for color patterns and better palettes than what I'm using and better techniques than what I'm using. So I'd be really curious about that. But yeah, this is a struggle. Okay, so I wanted my cat to have a collar, but still giving y'all the option of not having one. I want him to have a nice bright blue collar. So I put that on now so I could let it dry before I add the blue to it. And while it's drying, I'm going to go ahead and do his beautiful gray coat. Now, once I had in my head he was going to be a dark gray, maybe with some really dark or black stripes on him. But once I saw him in front of the red cherries and then the chocolate under him, I think he's going to be better as either a soft gray cat or a white cat with gray highlights or gray shadows. So I'm going to go for that, and I think it's going to look really nice with these colors around him. And I'm just using two grays here. I'm going to use two grays on the whole thing. I'm going to go back and forth. I have a really, really soft gray, and I actually like this gray a lot because if you barely press down, it hardly shows. It's just such a soft gray. And if you go over it and layer it some more, it does turn into a nicer warm gray. And then I'm going to go over it like right here. I'm going over it with a step up, a darker gray. So I'm just going to work these two back and forth. And my intention is to go over this whole thing with an aggressive blender. And it's one of my favorite things is to hit gray when making white. Hit that gray with an aggressive blender, and you watch. It's going to melt those lines away. It looks really good. It's going to push the gray directly into the white and give it a really, really nice soft look. So here we go. Now this is a Kalour. It's one of the most aggressive blenders out there. And see how it's completely it mixes the light gray with the darker gray. And then it's also acting as if the white itself is a color pencil. And it's going to merge those and melt those really nicely together. I love this look. It's so soft, and it just really makes the character work, makes them look three-dimensional. And all I'm doing right here is I'm just adding a gray underneath. I need to give this some weight, otherwise everything's kind of just floating in the air. So I'm just going to go around the base of this whole thing and just add little touches of gray. Now that my ink's dried, I'm going to go into it with this blue, and I'm just going to work in 3 layers. So I'll have a dark blue, a base blue, and then a really light blue. And I'm not even going to bother blending it. I'm going to use the light blue to kind of blend all of it together. But, I mean, there's no reason to blend it. This thing is so small. By the time I'm done, it'll work. And for the background, we're going to do some greens. I have 3 greens, dark, base, and light. The light is almost a lime green. I'm going to mainly use the dark green and the base green and kind of just go over all of it with the lime green, and that's going to push them together. That's going to merge them. But what I'm doing is I'm going to put enough layers here that I'm going to go with a soft blender and merge all those. So I got to make sure my layers are built up enough. So I'm just going to keep working these 3 colors over and over. So it's dark green, base green, light green, dark green, base, light. Okay, I'm about to start using one of the most underrated blenders out there. This is the Lyra colorless blender. They call it the Splender. It's up there with the Carandash as far as how soft it is. You don't see much about it. Not many people use it that I've noticed, but it's definitely one of the ones that's made it towards the top of my list as far as soft blenders go. You can see the background, how green and nice that looks. It pushes colors really soft without removing them and just frankly without being too aggressive. And here I am, clearly taking a page out of Mr. Melodious's book by treating every tiny object on the page as if it was the picture itself. So I'm going to go into it with a base pink, a really dark pink, a mid pink, and I'm going to treat each of these little cat paws as if they're extremely special. Now on to the background. I'm cutting a lot of this out. You don't need to see me go over and over. All I'm doing is using my softest blue that this palette offers. And then I got a blue that's a step up from that I'm just gonna barely touch down on this and then go back into it with the lighter blue and kind of smear that around. I rarely, especially when they're loose like this, if it's not a gray for sure, if it's not a gray background, I rarely go into these and blend them. I just think there's something I like personally about the rawness to it and the sketchiness now that I got the picture all cleaned up. I like that rough look for the backgrounds. And that is about it. I hope y'all liked it. This thing was about, I don't know, an hour and a half, so I had to get it down to 30 minutes. And I always still feel like it's too long, but I've had several of you say that y'all like the long ones. So anyway, this was awesome. I really enjoyed it. Hope to see you next time, and y'all have a great day.